Thank you, Johannes. I'd also like to thank Colleen and Joelle McSweeney for all of their hard work in organizing my return to campus. As Johannes said, I'm going to start off with the manuscript that won the award, just a small excerpt, and it's called The House of the Tree of Sores. I wait in the house of the Tree of Sores, the height-adjustable house of the Tree of Sores. I wait for its motor to start, for its many teeth to grind. I wade in the pulpish filth of the mosh pit of household objects, the mosh pit of grotesque motor skills. I spot a commercial proposition drooling in the corner of yet another fake room, my eyes mutilated by household objects. I can't see straight. I can't. Only a flickering series of lights in front of my suddenly failing eyes. On, off, on, off. I stage dive. I headbang. On, off, on, off. I can't remember my name. I can't remember my name, but I remember the names of my children. My children. What children? On, off, on, off. I stand before a trunk of stains, a tree of sores. It quakes and it quakes. It makes more motor sounds. Look at yourself, headbanger. Why do you stand there shivering, slurring coldly with your stupid flesh? Why are you neglecting your children? Why are you neglecting their eggs? The tree of sores quakes once more. It suddenly pukes out a little cephalopod or something. A crochet kraken. I pick up the slimy crochet kraken drenched in child-killing bacteria. I shoot the sharp-jawed tree a punkish grin. Eggs, I ask. Yes, you morgue-born headbanger, the tree answers. They're lost in miming, pecking and performing the everyday gestures of this pop milieu, their pop's mildew. Careful, crash dummy, before you crash and burn. My body oddly bursts into flames. I drop the crochet kraken to the floor. I stop, drop, and roll. Hundreds of bumps of something crack loudly beneath my flaming roll. Egg, 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 agulor. Egg, 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 omelet. Omelet. A lot, knocking, cracking up, cracking me up. I cry out. Burnt bread, my bread body, broadkavel. I keep rolling. I roll out my fires. I stare up at the tree. I stare up at the sores. I feel like a bruised roost hole, a local valve, a horror hole, a horror show. I am up all night, blood flowing. A horhus, a honshus, and my honhus, honsnot. Swells of my hand rolled away in the fire. I feel happy about this. But where are my children? Am I more? Am I mother? Am I father? The lateral teeth of the tree clamp down on my legs, sweeps my body inward. Are you their mother? Their mother tongue? Am I their mother? I ask. A channel of tied together trash bags flap up and surround the fibrous trunk of the tree of sores. Lumen. Vesicles of lens-generating tissue fills in, all over. Makes eyes. Eyes of light protrude from the trash bag channel of the tree of sores. Bags of swollen, of shit, of crud. I am up all night, blood flowing. I am swollen. I am shit. I am crud. I am mangled, headbanged through a coffee table book's table of malcontents. Beak first, a blue chicken emerges from the trash bag darkness. My hand-drawn, hand-drawn little boy. A yellow chicken emerges from the trash bag darkness. My hand-drawn, hand-drawn little girl. They are my cultish acolytes, worn like clipped images. So bizarre. Cult prophets snarling, pecking, pipping. They are my children, they are my chickens. Egg-making their assault on my language. I decide to embrace this bellicose, these ventricose vowels. I am now ignited by translation aorta, a blood system. Blood flows through my swollen caruncles, my crinkled lobe of page. My many eggs embedded in the storehouse. My yolkish needs need us. I check the recept. I study my feathered children in this well-furnished bunker. They're blue and yellow colors. make them look less American. I didn't want that. I wanted them to develop with brave brachionnaire. I take a moment to try and remember my daughter's features, my daughter's name. Was she Kiki or Sana? I cannot remember, but I remember her holding a microphone. Does she get that from me? Does she have more of my more looks or more of my far looks? What about my son? He looked like a famous Swedish chef, didn't he? Was he Magnus? Didn't he have a hunting dog named Krut or Crud? Clearly, I cannot recall my little tree, my little tree, my ancient ek, my traditional ik, my family tree, my brave brachionnaire. I feel I have been feathered, tarred, censored, these yellows and blues, these new bruise colors. This doesn't feel like the American dream. America is however I feel, right? It is only a feeling. It is about finding comfort in discomfort, right? Guitar riffs, death riffs. What am I? Gongplather? Yarin fatigue over satar. What am I saying? Shiny leathered, tarred, and not feathered. Papa, you are lost in translation. My children giggle. My cranial jelly shakes around in the riot traffic. I mosh into the shit of public decency. I think of chickens, their little eggs, their cockning bodies, the strangeness of their foreign language. Quanor, Ronder, blah blah, Americanerna, kernels popping, Hollywood games of whitewashing, subtitles are shit, crud. Hollywood reminds me that anything in translation is mediocre. My red carpet wardrobe, shit, crud. What am I wearing to the snusk shed? No pretty musk. All should snusk closely into my snusk shed. I mosh onward, slashed and dripping riot dye, graffiti. Why am I trying to make sense of this world of graffiti? Why should I bother translating at all? Suddenly I hear them. Suddenly I remember their names. My son's name, Meet, he. My daughter's, Oak, her. The horned branches of the tree of sores up pinching my sleeves, my filthy body. Tentacular surround, vampiro toothus, tooth this, barcode body mine. I suddenly find myself covered in pearlish ulcers and tongues of worship. I become painfully decorated by the tree of heirlooms, the tree of sores. Its meat hook branches take hold of me, holds me up ageless to the light, pushes me into the overneath of the house, crushes me with commercial light, viral bric-a-brac, lobes of God. I seemingly roll and roll, collecting furniture all over my adhesive body. Stockholm coffee table, Stockholm glass door cabinet, Stockholm tacrona, tentacular, blood-stealing IVs reaching into my retching spaces. I feel like vampiro toothus, spiraling, a mess across me. I wake up, anguish, convulsing, in and out of a frame of sublime gaseousness, my black bed, my black sheets of space, my tertius gardens, my Venus sinuses. I receive more than one language. I become feathered, flood of blasphemy. I eat these unknown scraps. I enjoy them. I enjoy this scap. And now I'm going to read a selection of poems from something I've been working on for a long time. There's a smaller version of it currently available as a chapbook from Horseless Press. The chapbook's called Goaltender, Meat Tender. The larger project is called Arena Manted. And it is a performance written for an ice rink. It's pretty much like an ice show. And it's hockey players performing a theatrical act that is meant to mimic the cannibalistic ritual that a female praying mantis acts out. And it was very influenced by the Budo dance, the form of Budo dance, and I'm going to read the beginning, the first scene of the project. And if you like these, you might like the chapbook as well. And Frank Zamboni, the inventor of the Zamboni machine, the first Zamboni, Spent 9 years working on and developing the first Zamboni, which was originally made from the hydraulic cylinder from an A-20 attack plane, a chassis from an oil derrick, a Jeep engine, and a wooden box to collect the ice shavings. And many people during these 9 years called him crazy. And so this beginning of this play is Frank Zamboni kind of acting like a sort of witch of the ice rink and melding these pieces together, these pieces that are very tied up in different forms of capitalism, whether it's capitalism for war or the capitalism behind oil. And it's, you know, all these parts go together to make this machine for this kind of blood sport that is intended to erase any trace of the game so that the game can keep going. And so this is Frank Zamboni speaking. And this is scene 1. The Iceland Ice Arena is a cold, cold place. A cold floor of blue lines, red ones. The red ones are so red that visitors sometimes neglect the blue ones, always forgetting about those blue ones. Some of the red ones are so red, spectators often overlook the bluest of them all. The infinite blue forever forming, the face-off circle of the world-famous Iceland Ice Arena. And I am world-famous too. I, an arena warlock like no other. I speak machine, I junkyard hover, gears in my mouth, grease stains on my knees. I've given ice to optimal bodies, subjects of injury throughout history, inscribed on my body, a plower of rail snow, of shot dodging, of upcoming obstacles, of carnage. Crazy old Frank Zamboni, they'd say. Me, a witch of helmets and grandiose maneuvers, vibrant clairvoyant of a frozen lake, endured with little violence, red spotting now and then. My big rig still speaks and transforms, washes icy dents, sweeps slugger graffiti into a desert white, so clean it's almost debilitating, like time. I too am frozen in time, over time, consulting old sketches, collections of old equipment in a locker room of memorabilia. A-20 aircraft. I do recall the propellered Havoc, the first earthbound junker I successfully hauled home. 6 hockey players take to the ice and encircle a spotlighted portion of an A-20 aircraft resting in the centermost face-off circle. 3 of the hockey players slowly remove the propeller, and the other 3 assist them in lifting it up over their heads in a circular motion. All 6 hockey players turn faster and faster along with the propeller. What good gearing they make. What a cage, what a chamber to game trigger a mind, a flume of preciseness, pulsing around like an eye, my buggy laboratory eye, my iris rising out of a porcelain frieze. What can I extract from this war machine? How to reset a stage compromised by wrist shots of snow or various patterns of slashing, a vicinity of aching muscles en route to soaring. The hockey players set the propeller down on the ice. I do recall the jet stream motion, their rear wheels cylindering into. One of the hockey players crawl into the hollow of the now propellerless radial engine. The hockey player eventually wiggles back out. He successfully retrieves a hydraulic cylinder and proudly waves it from side to side. Airstruck fuselage, awestruck fans, fuses attached to opposing teamsters, perfectly framed, no easy task, invisible timer. I find myself standstilled. I need more connectors, more blueprints, more parts. Cassis. A hockey player slowly drags a second hockey player around the ice in a circular motion, his body like a sled. The second hockey player's face, torso, and pelvis are raised to the sky as he glides on his skates and his gloves. He is pulled by a long rope tied around his waist. The Cassis, such a beautiful make, its durable body a glitter like a bobsled, like a footstool advancing nowhere on its own. Its mainframe needs a user. For now it glides, it coffins, its wheels turn and turn, its body turns and turns. I can imagine it eating. I know its bones are starved, too used, too much gaming. The first hockey player puts down the rope, brings the second player to a halt. The first hockey player pulls up the other's jersey. His exposed stomach moves with each breath. The first hockey player kneels down, unlaces his skate. He removes the skate and presses the blade against the other hockey player's stomach. He makes a deep incision. Blood gushes from the second hockey player's stomach, but he remains silent. The first hockey player picks up the rope and continues pulling the other like a sled. He leaves behind a reservoir, a trail of red. It's not enough. It mustn't leave itself behind. It mustn't only smooth. It must leave everything smooth, clean, without mess. It leaves too much red. It must keep itself in. Jeep engine. 6 hockey players take to the ice carrying small engines in their arms. Long comet-like tails of sparks shoot out of each engine. To a symphony of power drills, air compressors, and impact wrenches, the hockey players pass, weave, and spin around one another, creating star-like formations reminiscent of synchronized swimming. An engine makes a body goal, wild like a crowd squeal, quick like a turn into oncoming lanes, into oncoming traffic, swerving eyes on the rink, shin pads cracking high, speeding down a path, jockey breezing, Cooperall conceals the men like an engine house, keeps the brain taking names, take your time, say your prayers, save your players, cannot risk one's blade, cannot score with breakage, cannot shrug shaft delamination or a fracture at the junction where the padding always shatters. The 6 players kneel down in unison and slide their engines across the ice in opposite directions. One of the players exits the rink and returns carrying 12 hockey sticks. Each player is given 2 hockey sticks. The players lie down on the ice and form a circle with their bodies, mimicking the downward pointing arms of a praying mantis. They move their arms and sticks outwards and across the ice to form a variety of shapes and patterns. Resurrected chrome, Stations of the Cross, section where the spotlight lurks, bloodshot headlights glow. Mind the thickness of the handle, mind the gear shift in the stock car race. Mind the rupture coefficient, mind the model of the car. Crash hard into head-on, stick blocking for the win. Jaw breaking down the road, bruising like it's mid-season, spitting teeth, spitting bone, arena belching like a cannibal. Wooden box. A spotlighted wooden box rests in a corner face-off circle of the ice rink. One by one, the hockey players skate quickly toward the wooden box and abruptly stop. The sharp stops repeat and repeat. The sharp stops send sprays of snow into the air. The wooden box gradually catches all the white. This is where a body flakes, where the tires swing, where the teeth fly, where the blades handle, where the air frosts, where the athletes melt, where the athletes row, where the box bellies, where the ice pools, where the box lakes, where the stakes rise, where the ghosts make eyes, where the tears well, where the whistle blows, where the men puddle, where the men trance, where the lines meet, where the engines go, where the injuries start, where time stops, where time stops, where the gloves come off, where everything comes off. And these will be the last poems of the night. After this, I'm going to read a short story and close out. But this is the latest thing I've been working on, and it's a collection of poems called Drone Waggle. And a waggle is a dance that honeybees do. It's a movement performed by honeybees at their hive or nest, and it's believed to indicate to the other bees where the closest source of food is. A drone is also a male bee and a killing machine. And while recently there was the drone papers were released. It was called the Drone Papers by a trio of journalists, Glenn Greenwald, Laura Poitras, and Jeremy Scahill. And this was done by The Intercept, and it offered a rare glimpse inside the American government's kill patterns in relation to drone strikes. And I was fascinated when I discovered that one of these terms for kill maps was BBC, and BBC was an acronym for baseball cards. Baseball cards are the military's method for visualizing information. They're used to display data, map relationships between people, and identify an individual's so-called pattern of life. And it's interesting to think of the way baseball cards, when you're collecting them as a child, are passed around and swapped and traded and collected. And these are what our government calls kill maps. So I started thinking about honeybees, drone strikes, baseball. And so these are the poems that came about. And this first one is called Labor Contract. We're a slapdash ride on a jiggle wind waggle. We're all business hours. We're all one direction with webcam eyes. Us ruckus swarms, us hive racket drones, us loyal munitions. Upwind our glinting wings, savvy, imbibing the thickest pistol when all of a sudden turbulence hackles youthful me, your Johnny-come-lately. Decorated like a fatty stockholder, my abdomen busts, a fleshy arm collects me into upturned yellow mush now. My center shakes out cloud. My gummy war shard leaks like a heat seeker on the fritz. I fly in place, go nowhere, I spaghetti outward. Yellow pastels, my bombshell a wince. My one and only peptide sting. Wasted, my computer eyes fading, full-scale emergency failing. Why be blessed with a body, Mr. President, if you're only allowed to use it once? This one's just called Drone Waggle. 2 orbits a day, another targeting campaign in the named area of interest. Follow on the travel stain, do a waggle dance to perfect your waggle, to increase the hive, to increase production. Must increase the hive with those muscular drones, all those droves of drones with their everted drills, with their covert actions, with their covered eyes. Guilty. By association, same vicinity, it's a droney gamers guild built up like masculinity. How those bloodshot eyes drip like eggy whites. They're a watch listing system taking innocent lives. With cramping up wrists, pilots stick to their seats. Remains like a stinger, remain like a stain. It's their travel stain. Jet stream of piss. It's all baseball card stats. We call it justice. Sting operation. Hexagonal nukes in the bullpen hive. Drop, drop, push, push, flung like killer bass lines. Batty drones waggle through, don't call it special ops. It's community gold, rather neighborly. Stole that bass, laid it waste, code like bagpipe drones for an XLFT, just like 2003. Explosion off the bulb of that Yemen Jeep. All the ops go thrumming, marching murder tones from fine to fix. Aggressive with their sinker winding up in the strike zone with their stinger sliding fast, you better break that pitch. Hard ones flowing, US faulty spaking intelligence, writing restrictive lists. Another monster politician grows up numb to others, call it crown shyness. Call it NES, call it RPG, call it RPA. It's a video game, just a video game. Building walls between super seedy hacker boys and their baseball cards and their parasite stats. They left us broken-stemmed, exploited flower patch. This is the last poem from this set, and it's called Post-Queen PSA. Good afternoon, this is your pilot speaking. A pinstripe gentleman, a gentleman who handshakes seizures into gentrified neighborhoods, a voodoo gadget badged with a song in my piggy bank and a lifey bang in my programmable heart. Apologies if I caused you anaphylactic shock. I do dabble in magnetic compasses, ships, aircraft, spacecrafts, guns. I'm crafty when it comes to waggle, when it comes to exploiting violets, when it comes to killing machines, when it comes to producing machines, when it comes to wrongful bloodshed. A shed, a containment unit. Mine is filled with cover-ups. Call it innocent blood on a dance floor. Call it Chicago PD. Call it a Trump campaign. Call it homo-nationalism. Call it a war on terror. Call it turban profiling. Call it state regulation. Call it liberal propaganda. Call them like you see them. As long as you keep your personal calls to a minimum. We do monitor future employees for strong points and weaknesses. We do monitor future employees for any stereotypes that boost our agenda. We do monitor the monstrous crying of wind for anything that blows in our favor. We do the police in different voices. It goes a little something like this. A white police officer walks into a bar. He turns his mandated body camera off. Later, he's cleared of all charges. That's called American justice. That's just one voice. Here's another. It goes a little something like this. For the record, perhaps don't mean I'm right or wrong, just my opinion. I'm not racist, but for the record, perhaps. Here's one more voice. It goes a little something like this. Good afternoon, this is your MQ1 creeping, this is your MQ9 sweeping. I'm high on Domex, I'm striped like a jailbird, I'm straight like a jacket, I'm your cap and your gown, spitting chews, swelling thews while you Netflix and chill. I'm your Wi-Fi hotspot, I'm your stolen face, I'm your MC-12. I'm flying overhead in your airspace, I'm photographed ODing on bolts of OSD. Call it love for the game, call it easily bought, call it human or high, call it HVI. I'm pulsing like your router, I'm twitchy like your eyes, I'm photoreceptive, I'm tomorrow's disguise, I'm a baseball card trade, counterfeit like a badge, counterfeit like a spy. I'm a baseball card trade decorated in lies. And I'm going to close out tonight with a short story called Interference. And it's about a demon, but it's a demon as in the computer program. And it's a computer program that runs in the background rather than being under the direct control of the user of the computer. So it just does its own thing. And this is kind of set in a post-internet era. But most like chaos, stopless, cool, without a chance or spar, or even a report of land to justify despair. Emily Dickinson. Era, after internet, no escape sequences now. No idea what it means to be a human now. A human now. The word now. No ideas how to live off the land of fissures, foam, molasses. No human idea now. I'm actually a demon cursed to aimlessly wander. Cursed to collect data from this heavily skirmished earth. Just a demon trying to keep a signal. I keep a cursor too. It trails me with its cymophane glow. It hovers at my side like a canine might. Never know, never caught a glimpse of a real-life canine. Only pictures, only scraps, only a snout here, a tail there, only a paw, a claw, a scrap. Only ever scraps can I piece together in my human concept puzzle. They bark and they chew me down, my thoughts. Earth is very much a scrap heap now, where no canine grows, no human either. No way to. I would know. I would. I'm a wandering remnant. Every day my being swells with eschatological pin numbers. What next, I ask myself? What could possibly be next for my glaucous demon vessel and my little cursor pet? It's been a long wait so far, and I know only more waits for me. More waiting among the crumbling ruins, more waiting beneath the cruel carapace sky. I wait with my hand pressed up inside the hollow of my cursor counterpart. The hollow flickers just rapidly enough to imagine how a heartbeat might feel. Just rapidly enough to distract me from the dead outlet ground so cold and indifferent to my own odd beat. No grass to stain my scarred, blistering feet. No spoolings of grass to raise me up and outside of the compiling carapace sky. It's a thick ice of a sky. The most recent ice age was a cold boot severely and for many. These things have happened in the past, though. I did once pull and acquire a lengthy scrap from the thorny garlands of a gasoline-reeking library. Some texts are still legible as long as one can find ample lighting, and some things just can't be downloaded. The 17th century was terribly long ago, but it did feature some terribly cyclical lows that the NASA one day termed the Little Ice Age. I still haven't located the definition of the NASA name, but I've seen its 4 large letters many times. The NASA, I suspect, was an organization responsible for numerous attempts at warming the sky. However, based on the data I've collected, these attempted warmings haven't occurred since the use of the pin numbers, specifically known as dates, not to be confused with the expired food item that possesses tart and or bitter taste properties. Most importantly, it should also be noted that, based on my excessive logging of the current climate, such attempts at warming were a certifiable failure. Aggressive human activity of the past currently mirrors much of the Earth's current plant life. I have long been cataloging the Earth's current plant life. The complicated botanical factions are a direct result of foreseen and unforeseen side effects, humankind's most prodigious industrial generations. The NASA, I know, used to launch finely grooved golden discs into the cosmos, hoping a someone, an alien, and anything could hear its promise of peace. Its first movement, its ultrasounds, its cooing babes, its guttural uteri, its tractor racket, its clamoring train, its horse carts, its Morse code, its riveting riveters, its tweeting sheep, its blacksmith clang, its ripsaw pound, its canine treble, its spherical trouble, its witch's brew, its rainy timber, its ragey frogs, its hyena cackle, its elephant gun, its howling hills, its game of marbles, its biggest bang, its piano mumbles, its best good Johnny. The NASA used to leave a trace any way it could, I suspect, but after all these days and dates, I've lived upon this rock of noise. I've never understood why. I've never seen a UFO or anything else I've found in the junk libraries. If ever I witnessed a space invader, it would be one of the tens of thousands of well-wired plants currently parting the ravaged lips of the earth. Among the ashen monticules I cautiously tromp, there thrives a bite-oriented protocol featuring always upgrading coaxial fly traps and din-collecting triffids. The triffids are currently the most dangerous of humankind's past transmission errors. Additionally, one cannot ignore the gift-projecting spider plants and the renegade pitchers loudly ejecting cursor bodies as if they were iams. Iams likened to landmines, a crosstalk that landscape scrambles. A walker like me should be obsolete, but here I stand, still carefully scanning the plant life as it endlessly downloads, re-downloads, processes. A thundering, gift-projecting spider plant swivels near me, projecting pornographed equipage, a museum of hollow, a sewage of titles, of notions, of sponsors, epiphyting bodies perpetually drilled. On repeat, the eat, eat, eat. A woman's body hacked to repeat, eat, eat. A carnivorous tech bladder stretching, a stretch marking, a tearing, a never permitted to open their eyes in the limitless gift of limits, the limitless sewage of human. As a dedicated server, I tromp through the customizable menus and screens of constant angular velocity. The masculine mouth forever nipple slurping, the pair of breasts always rupturing into analog errors, the glitchy cash-in forever pounding, the projected sexualities of the past, breathed out by fiber optic swivelers, an autotrophic trending, a world's largest desktop folder, all hollow. Why go on preserving a trend? I context switch away from the gift-projecting spider plants, seek new lodging among a particularly hostile constellation of pitchers, their tremulous bodies weaved around the moonlight like mossy candelabras. Found a hut-like bunker of cogs and setup strings, a virtual loadable module to shield my demon body from any risk of hardware control. Finally housed, I stare into my new bunker's wall whites, barren. From out of my encoding scheme, I gather materials for my interior presentation layer. Highly necessary distractions. 9 images I combed from out of an abandoned manor house. So many portraits, but they are reproductions. So many carbolic blooms of past trauma. 9 images by a painter, by Velasquez. I've arranged them in 3 tiers of 3. Top tier, Aesop, the coronation of the Virgin, the garden of the Villa Medici. Middle tier, Mariana of Austria, the triumph of Bacchus, the Infantana Maria Teresa of Spain. Bottom tier, Philip IV of Spain, Las Meninas, Prince Balthasar Carlos. Starving and barely dressed, I feel ashamed, humiliated by such paintings. I must say, I do believe them to be the closest thing I will ever have to music. I have only scanned the smallest scraps on music, but so little has still led to my occasional production of mouth sounds I would not have otherwise made. Does my mouth correctly imitate a piano mumble? Does my mouth correctly imitate the go-go of a Go Johnny Go, of the Johnny Be Good? Does my mouth do the gunny track? Am I capable of music? I cannot be certain. I constantly forget I am no different than the metallic weeds that snake like shackles below my body. A body of transmission rates, forever under surveillance for prey capture effectiveness. Today, what a word. I stare into the black hole eyes of childish Prince Balthasar. He sits atop a fascinating creature known as horse. I stare into those tiny black holes knowing he does not know that he will perish at the age of 16, knowing that he does not know his own smallpox future. The little prince may be suspected he would live quite far into the future, into my end of sight. I move to my left and I stare into the eyes of Bacchus, knowing there is nothing left to drink, nothing to piss, nothing to hold, not a single body left to caress, as one might put it. Only this computerized nature, only these projections of a past that I continue to catalog. It is like a graffiti of madness engraved into my demon. I feel like the first program. I feel like the last program. Nighttime canopy. A pitcher faction watches me closely from above. Their fluid-filled mouths gaze into my eyes. Their lids produce a subtle drumming. Their viscoelastic tendrils, their spangled trumpets descend quickly from their canopied bodies. It's the closest thing I've ever seen to what the human of the past refers to as orchestra. Semi-inflated, their syrupy tongues launch and lock onto my window space. The glass panes shatter. The pitchers suddenly spray their infernal oils, secretly channel my hackable flesh. Their nodes collision brightly into my body. I scream out, desperate for a foil shield. They instantly shock and weaken my bones, my signal. On my knees, they do their best to corrupt me. No escape sequences now. My indoor is forcibly brought outdoors as my cursor tries its best to gnaw away the pitcher's high-capacity cables. My loyal cursor does everything it can, shape-shifts around their electro-ripplers with a strong desire to maim. Eventually, my cursor successfully drags one to the ground. I fix a knot into the taken down's neck for the sake of fuel stoppage. The others retreat, reboot far away. Once inside, I pull back the now convulsing pitcher's peristome, reveal its pitcher cup of coppery juices, scoop out its circuitous stomach. Reminds me of the phrase, hay bale. I discovered hay bale when I was studying horse. My glowing cursor locates much dust and soil and seemingly lacquered bones. Human, animal, tough to tell. Not much of a difference anyway. The accidental manufacturing of the pitchers, triffids, and traps was primarily responsible for the rapid decline of the human population. The repeat of little ice age after little ice age, the thawing of permafrost, the rising of sea levels, the insect, the animal, the marine life die-offs. Such interference also contributed to the decline. To summarize, the human population was responsible for the decline of the human population. And what's left now? Demons. My glinting cursor drags the inert specimen to a tiny workbench in the corner of my bunker. I put my scalpel to the wings of its polychromatic cup. Its interior whiskers flail violently for a few seconds, then stop. I hook some of its meat back only to discover its insides are seamed, alloy pearls of new life clinging to its guzzle. Unplanned programs ready to devour me as soon as their roots have a chance to download. Without much hesitation, I pop each sack with my scalpel, causing an overall system failure for the pitcher's future unit. I stare down as some premature meldlings writhe out of the sulfur-leaking sacks. The exhaust is overwhelming. Why is this domination of one, of the other, endlessly reproduced? Why must I exist in this cruel autotrophia? What more can I do than question these segments and specimens before I perish so very young, like black-holed Balthasar? Am I young? Do I possess age? My expiration I know is soon. My deteriorating image of the garden of the Villa Medici fills my final thoughts. It is my only green, the only green landscape I have ever witnessed. How can a fake feel so real? I have scanned many scraps regarding this ruinous planet's violent behaviors, but if given a chance to worship anything in this world, I would worship the tallness of a cypress, suppresses sempervirens. To me, given my limited understanding of the concept, suppresses sempervirens sounds like some sort of music. I plan to remain drunk on this green until the end of my program. I imagine myself as one of those figures below the cypressed canvas, with stockinged calves, with a large hat to shield me from the toxic sky. If you are still reading, this will be my final report. I know my own Balthasar all too well. I will perish never knowing what type of power a child prince must feel. I cannot relate to the concept of legacy or royalty. There are so many titles and terms that I do not yet understand, and I don't know that I want to. I will perish never knowing the movement of the horse creature, but when I review its bone structure in my head, I can nearly imagine how it might have walked. I will perish knowing that the giddy up expression is what one must yell from the horse. I believe everything is giddy up from here on out. At the moment, I can only ponder phrases that end with up: a stir-up, a hang-up, a hiccup, a blow-up, a flare-up, a stick-up, a line-up, a crack-up, a shake-up, a toss-up, a cover-up. I don't know what else to say. I don't know anything about horse. I only know what I download. Giddy up, I whisper across the sleep mode night. Thank you.